Hello, everybody. So let me make sure that we are actually live and working okay here. And looks like we're live. So we had a customer contact us about problem with the item. They actually went to the trouble of writing a very nice letter. So there's their letter. Um, so if you, yeah, very good penmanship actually. So Well, you're just learning to read cursive, so. Okay, so what we're doing, they stated they had cut 3 inches of wick. So this is a half-inch fiberglass wick we're testing. They said they'd cut 3 inches and put it into a small bottle and let it soak for a half hour before using. And so I'm gonna say that you don't need to let it soak for a half hour, but the most important thing is that it must be wet from top to bottom. So I have a bottle filled with gravel. The gravel is just to weight the bottle, and it's also to displace all of this area that we're not going to use, so we don't use as much fuel. I have two 4-ounce HDPE priming bottles filled with paraffin lamp oil. That will be the oil that we're going to be using today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill directly down the top, and we're going to do this not in 30 minutes. We're going to try to do it in 30 seconds and see what happens. So we will open the bottle. Oop, this is not going well. We'll do this a little slower. Maybe also down this little side area right here. We'll slow it down. So what this is definitely doing is you're making sure now that the wick is filled with fuel from top to bottom.
I can't even tell where the oil is.
Well, I'm hoping, yeah, it's only down here. So I think we're gonna have to actually add quite a bit. We'll see how this works out for us.
Some of it dripped.
Some of it dripped, yes.
I think I need more than two.
We might need more than two. It's possible. Probably should have done is I probably should have filled part of the bottle on the bottom. But hindsight's always 2020.
I can see some dropping in.
Yeah. We're still actually we're up to about here now, so
I couldn't see that. I can't tell anymore. Wherever the rocks are a different color, that's where we are.
I need some more paper towel.
Most definitely.
Yes.
Do you want me to grab one?
Do we have a paper towel that's we're almost out of it in the do we have another I think we'll have to grab some extra paper towel. Okay. Thank you very much. My fantastic assistants here.
I need a lot.
That's a lot, and I made a huge mess here, so we're going to the best laid plans. Okay, so keep that out of the way. We'll put down.
Maybe you should do two.
Maybe we'll do two. Let me go throw this away real quick.
See.
And everybody watch out for the cords of the computer. Okay. So one bottle got us up to about here, so I think the second one will be okay. I'll do this one a little slower.
So it doesn't overflow.
Yeah, we'll try not to do what we just did.
That'd be nice if we had a funnel.
Yes, I probably could have done this a little better, but we're trying to do it on the fly. and we're trying to not take a bunch of time doing it. So next time we'll plan things out a little better. But we're already almost up to the bottom of the wick.
Wait. How do you do California on? Oh, this book.
Okay, we are now at the very bottom of the wick. So now we'll go up to the clear. The other thing that could have gone wrong is since they're only using 3 inches of wick
In a very small bottle.
in a very small bottle, it's possible
That the ball wasn't big enough.
they didn't have enough fuel. So that is completely soaked. The fuel is clear up to the top. Most importantly, before we light, we are going to dry the sides of the bottle. Make sure you dry any excess fuel.
So that way you don't burn your entire house down.
That's true. Speaking of burning your house down, I have one,
And
two fire extinguishers. Right.
See it. I bet he can pull a magic one out of nowhere.
Yes.
I bet you can do that.
In addition, we have an enormous one hanging on the side of the building. So, what have we done? We've made sure that fuel is wet from top to bottom. We're only using a 3-inch wick. We've displaced all of the room that would normally be taken by fuel with a lot of rocks, and our fuel level is about right up to here. If you're using wine bottles, you must fill all the way to the top of the neck because a wine bottle can have a 6 to 9 inch neck, and half-inch fiberglass can only pull about a half-inch. So, customer stated the flame wasn't very big. So we have about 2 millimeters of wick showing. What did you want to say, Katia?
I think the reason you need a bigger spot to put the wick in it because it depends on how big the wick is.
Okay.
Because yours is almost filling up the whole bottle cap.
Okay. And without further ado, we are going to light it. This is probably going to make a fairly large flame. The other complaint was that it made a very small flame. So actually, let's adjust our camera up a little bit
So they can see
so
it.
you can see the flame.
It's like two silver flames merging into one.
Yes, well, it's going to.
What if it gets taller than
So what adjusts your flame height is how much wick you have showing. But you really don't want to have too much wick showing because what'll happen is you'll have an enormous flame and also a lot of smoke. So the more wick you have exposed, the more smoke you're probably going to generate in addition to a large flame.
I can see the smoke.
So this is an enormous flame.
And that's only I don't even know how much wick it's showing.
It only has about quarter inch, 2 or 3 millimeters, and that is a lot of flame. Let's make sure it's not very hot up here. So it's been going for about 10 seconds now. Approximately. So,
probably more.
what will I say? That is an enormous flame. So, whatever we're doing, we are producing a very large flame. If I were to do this over again, I would probably have the wick exactly flush with the glass bottle,
That's tall.
and that'll produce a smaller flame.
If you look on the computer, it looks like it's glitching.
Yeah, it's a huge flame. We can't even
Put it up high enough.
So we definitely are able to produce a big flame. So I think what could have happened with the customer is maybe they set the wick into the fuel. I don't understand. It must have been just barely touching the fuel because this is pulling fuel no problem. But the other difference we did is we made sure we poured fuel down the top. So,
Tall, short.
well, they said the flame was very small and went out in 30 seconds. Which, yeah, I don't know. We're not able to duplicate that. So I will copy a link of this video and send it off to the customer. And I'm not sure what they did wrong, but maybe they can watch what I've done and figure out how what I've done is different from what they did. So what could have been the things that are different? They might not have put fuel down the top. It's always important to make sure your wick is wet from the very top to the very bottom. What else could it be? Maybe, so they said they cut a 3-inch piece, they set it into a small bottle for 30 minutes, and it only burned for 30 seconds
Of the
with a
30
small
minutes.
flame and went out.
Of the 30 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm not. The other thing, well, no, but it's been more than 30 seconds. The other thing I was thinking is how narrow their bottle was. Because you can see here, we've pulled fuel already down to here because a 1/2 inch wick is an enormous wick and it could pull a lot of fuel. You see, we've already used up about a 1/4 inch of fuel just since we've been talking. So we're going to let this go for a little bit, and curious how quickly the fuel is going to go down the neck. Because 3 inches is not a lot of wick if if it was in a confined place like the neck of a bottle. The wick almost takes up the entirety of the bottle and only leaves a little bit of room for fuel. But we've already been burning more than about 2 minutes now, 3 minutes, probably even more.
10.
Well, let's see. 10, how long has the video been? About a minute so far, at least. So we still have a huge flame. If I were to do this over again, that flame is too big and it's making smoke. Let's see if we can blow it out. And I'm going to push the wick flush. That's still a very large flame. It's smaller. Maybe we'll blow it out again and push it maybe even just below. That's better.
It just needs enough time to grow. I don't think it's gonna grow.
So that's a reasonable size flame. That's still a good size flame. I wouldn't describe that as small. That is an enormous candle.
That's bigger than probably if you took a birthday candle it would make.
It wouldn't be that big a flame. This is about like 2 or 3 times the size of a regular candle flame. So how do we achieve that? You saw the difference. We had a 1/4 inch above, and the flame was up to off the camera, certainly, right? It was off the top of the camera. Now I have the wick actually completely flush, even a little bit below, and so it's like I can see a few hairs on this side, and it's below the level over on this side, and that's producing. And you see how it's starting to settle down. We have the windows open, so you're gonna have wind blowing it around, but you see how much more.
There's barely even any wind.
Yeah, it's a much more even flame with a correct height of wick. So we're not really able to duplicate any of the problems from the customer, huh? Because we're getting a good sized flame. It's been burning for more than 30 seconds, and we only primed it. What was it, about 2 minutes it took me to fill that bottle?
Um, maybe one. Probably.
Yeah, it's hard to say. But we always, whenever we have a customer problem, we always like to duplicate if possible. And if we're not able to duplicate it, at the very least, we can send a video off to the customer and they can see what we've done, which is resulting in a good result. So, looking at it, what can I think? Maybe the customer had the wick below the height of the bottle, and that was it keeping a flame from forming, because this is a very good sized flame.
Be careful so you don't touch.
Yes, I don't want to touch that for sure, right? So, what would have caused no flame or a very tiny flame? Maybe if they would have had the wick below the height of the top of the glass, that could have done it. Watch your fingers. You never touch. Very hot. Uh, and keep your kids away from any flames for sure. What else could have gone wrong? Maybe the wick wasn't actually in the fuel. That could have been another problem, right? Maybe it looked like it was touching, but it wasn't. I'm just trying to figure out how you could have it sit for a half hour and not get a flame and not get it burning for more than 30 seconds. So we're gonna let this burn for another minute or two. Any thoughts? No? What about you? No? We're working on homework right now, so you finished your homework. Okay. Yep. Well, it's still working. Uh, I'm not sure where the fuel level is. Oh, it's right here. So it's not even a matter of using up the fuel in a split second. Uh, it's just sipping the fuel. It only used up about that much in the whole time.
Where the rocks start because the rocks will change colors.
Yes, they do change colors a little bit when they're wet. It's really hard to say. I'll have to I'll have to try to call the customer up and I'll send them a message with a link to the video, and then tomorrow I'll call them up and try to figure out maybe what was going on. They said they were very disappointed and they went to trouble to writing a full page letter. So if somebody's going to go to the trouble of writing a full page letter and say they were very disappointed, we're always going to try to figure out what the problem was and help them out.
In the bottle.
Yeah, it's going to be either it's always a good idea to pour fuel down the top so that you make sure your wick is wet top to bottom. The other issue could be it only had 3 inches of wick, and so the bottom of the wick maybe wasn't actually touching fuel. And then so what it would have done is it would have used up all the fuel. Maybe they shook the bottle a little bit and the wick was wet, but wasn't actually in the fuel. So the wick sort of got wet from shaking. It used up all the fuel inside of the wick, but couldn't pull out of the reservoir. It's a puzzle because we have a very nice flame. If you wanted an enormous flame that was too much, all you have to do is have about a 1/4 inch showing. You saw that at the beginning of the test. So we'll let this go for about another minute, and I think we're going to call it good. We're going to call it unable to duplicate the customer experience, but we will still be able to send off a video to the customer, and at least they can see what we've done and try to figure out how that differs from what they did. Because they didn't send a picture of what their lamp looked like, but it said they cut 3 inches of wick. Let me here. They have the letter. Um, I tested out the product on a small bottle with a 3 inch wick. To my surprise, after lighting the wick, the size of the flame was extremely small. Would you describe the flame as extremely small? Not really, right? It's like double or triple the size of a candle. Maybe they're expecting a foot tall flame. I don't know. A bonfire out of a bottle. I started over and I let soak for 30 minutes. Lit wick, and again, flame started out well, but again to a very small flame. I truly hope you can fix this issue. Okay. Well, I think we fixed the issue. My suggestions to, is it okay to say their first name, you think? Yeah. No? Okay. Customer Eduardo, here are a couple things that I can suggest. Make sure that you pour fuel down the top so that it's wet top to bottom. You need to make sure your fuel is filled all the way to the top of your bottle. A lot of things I think happen with customer lamps is they're designed for looks and they're not necessarily designed to work very well. And so if you have a very tall bottle like this, you need to fill the fuel to the very top because even just the neck on the soda bottle is 3 inches tall, and half-inch fiberglass is going to start starving the flame at around 4 to 6 inches. So, meaning that the fuel level needs to be within, certainly if you're going to start, I would say 2 or 3 inches of the top, maybe even almost all the way to the top, and then you'll have it burn for a very long time. Just to let you know, the fuel level is now down to here. So it looks like every 2 or 3 minutes we're using about a 1/4 inch of fuel. Yes. So we are also, because of I get a lot of things that say from the customer, didn't stay lit, didn't work in my lamp, wrong size for my lamp. So we are actually working on launching a new product. We're trying to finalize what we're going to do, but the idea is we're going to have some sort of wick holders that are made out of metal, and the wick will be inside of the holder, and you'll be able to have a flame that is several. It's like a bouquet of flowers, except it'll be candles. So we're playing around with it. Uh, I can fit 3 small holders, but I can only fit one large holder and 2 small holders. I'm not sure how that's going to look, if I like that or not. So we're still figuring things out, and we're still doing testing.
Um, marbles in your.
Yes, we put in some very pretty blue marbles, and that makes it look very nice. Yes, but the final product might not be blue marbles. We're not quite sure. We're still in the very early testing phases. We're not sure if we're going to go with large straws. We might have to go with a larger bottle neck and go 3 large straws. This will hold 1/4 inch wick, and these hold about 3/16. I'm going to try to put my 1/8 fiberglass in here and see if those last a little better than the cotton. Thin wick? Well, you want it to fill the entire diameter of the straw, because then you get the wicking action of the wick, and then you should get additional wicking action between the wick and the wall of the straw, meaning that it's pulling fuel through the wick itself and also between the edge of the wick and where it touches straw is also a place for it to pull fuel. So I'm about ready to call this done. The next thing we're going to be doing a lot of testing with this, and I'm hoping I'm going to launch our own oil lamp soon. Okay, I am told that we need to wrap it up here. We've done what we can. We've proven it works. It burns well more than 30 seconds. Uh, Really curious what went wrong with Eduardo's lamp, but we'll send this off to Eduardo, and now he'll be able to see what we did. So I think we're going to wrap it up right here. Everyone say goodbye. Bye. Thank you very much, everybody, and good day or night wherever.